we're going to go to the haunted houses, Michael, and we're going to take a look at a number of these division favorites, and I want you to tell me if this division favorite's house is haunted and that there are some ghosts creeping up in the background that are going to knock them off the pedestal, or if they've got it locked up. So let's start in the AFC East. The Miami Dolphins are 6-2. They're coming off a bounce-back critical win against the New England Patriots, an odds-on -195 favorite in the AFC East, Michael. But could the Dolphins' house be haunted? Is there another bet on the board that could be worth pursuing, the Bills, Jets, and Patriots in tow?
There's really only one, and that's the Bills, and I don't love their team based on the injury level that's gone on. But you know, the Dolphins still haven't beaten a team with a winning record since September of last year. This will be a challenge against Kansas City and Germany to see if they can do that, particularly because Kansas City sets up perfectly for how to attack the Dolphins. I mean, last week, if you watch that tape closely, you know, New England did a pretty good job against them. Actually, I think they had better control of the game in Miami than they actually did in New England. Most people would say the opposite. But there was a couple calls that went against them that were strange calls nonetheless that helped Miami score points. Again, they're the better team. I'm not defending that at all. I'm just saying they had a better control. They couldn't run the ball at all against New England. People are taking away that outside zone play pretty well now. So, you know, I still think with Josh Allen, you always have a chance. It's worth a play. I don't like it. I don't think their house is haunted in terms of holding on to the East for Miami because their defense is starting to look better.
Okay, if you were to want to take a flyer on the bets, plus 240. But okay, the AFC East still firmly in the hands of the Miami Dolphins. Can they hold on to it and not let the ghosts of the Buffalo Bills take over? How about in the AFC North? Tough division right now. Could the Ravens' house be haunted? I think yes, considering the Steelers, Browns, and Bengals all sitting there at 4-3. The Bengals had such a rough start to the year. Joe Burrow's looking better than ever right now. Could they be worth a play down there at 3-1?
You know, I think Cincy really was good last week. Defensively, they were good. You know, offensively, with Burrow like Allen, you always have a chance. I worry a little bit about Cincy. Can they be good enough? I mean, look, they give up, they're 30th in the league in terms of yards per attempt. They played better defense against San Francisco, but really the reality of that game last week wasn't that San Francisco couldn't move the ball. That San Francisco was playing from behind. That was the killer. And when you play from behind, it's so difficult. I mean, when you look at those things, what San Francisco did last year, what Philly did last year, what Kansas City did last year is they play constantly from in front. And when you do that, you can run the ball. You can control the pace of the game. San Francisco, the last 3 weeks, haven't done it.
The Jacksonville Jaguars are a $5 favorite in the AFC South. Texans recently just lost to the worst team in the league in the Carolina Panthers. Titans, could they be turning it around with Will Levis at quarterback, or will he be figured out, similar to how C.J. Stroud has been, it seems? And the Colts playing teams close despite all of the turnover issues and Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Could the Jags' house be haunted, or do they have it locked up at 6-2 and the league's longest active win streak right now?
You know, I would have said the Titans have a chance. I mean, Levis made some really good deep throws. And for the last 3 weeks, the Titans have looked better in the offensive line and have run the ball. Where I'm concerned about the Titans is really where I'm typically not concerned, is they didn't play the run. They haven't played the run at all. You know, they have not played the run. Even though they only give up 3.8, the last 3 weeks, the Colts ran for 193. The Ravens ran for 139. The Falcons ran for 140. You know, they're not good enough in their secondary. We know they have problems at corner and inside. If you can run the ball on them, and if you can pass protect, which, some teams can do with Simmons and Tart and Landry coming off the edge, I think it's certainly you can move the ball. I just don't know if Tennessee has enough to beat Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville's playing really well right now.
In the AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs, another big favorite, $6 favorite in the division. And they just lost, though, to the Denver Broncos. And, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I know he's dealing with an illness, but multiple turnovers, did not look himself. That offense struggling from the wide receiver position as well. Could their house be haunted in the AFC West with the Chargers playing better football of late?
I don't think it is, but let's just go through the Chiefs for just a second, right? They're 6-2. They're 6-2, which is outstanding. Mahomes has his lowest TD percentage of his career. He's got his highest interception percentage. He's got his lowest success rate of his career, his lowest adjusted air yards of his career. His yards per completion at 10.8 is the lowest of his career. His lowest passing yards per game and his lowest quarterback QBR. All that being said, he's still having his best. He's still got him 6-2. And 3 of his worst games, if you look at the 88 games he started, Stormy, and you break them down from top to bottom, 1 being top, 88 being bottom. This season has produced his 87th, his 84th, and his 77th worst game of his career. Think about that now.
Wow.
Right? And so he hasn't played well. And a lot of it isn't on him, though, because when you break down his percentage of bad throws, the lowest in his career at 10.8. On target, the highest of his career, 82.3. But the problem is the drop rate of these receivers is 7.8. And he's been hit 35 times in 8 games. He's getting hit way too much. And people are no longer scared to pressure him. He's at a 23.7 pressure rate, which is the highest of his career. And so no one's scared about going after him. I mean, he only got hit 56 times last year. They played 8 games. He's already been hit 35.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a difference, And I think when you look at it, the one thing you got to say is their scoring is way down. If you take out the aberration game of Chicago, they basically scored 20.8 points a game. Last year, they're at 29.
So despite being 6-2, should they be scared potentially by anyone creeping up?
No,
Still
because I think these numbers are just how good he is. Like he'll continue. Eventually that drop rate's going to come down, right? I mean, right now it's the highest it's ever been at 7.8. The receiver's dropping the ball. But as long as he stays on target, I think he needs more help. I think that's the moral of my story is everybody thinks he's playing poorly, but I think a lot of it is the supporting cast. I mean, we thought Tyreek Hill losing him was going to affect him. It didn't as much last year, but it sure as hell affected him this year. I mean, last year they were averaging 12 yards per catch. This year that number's down to 10.8. Think about that. That's significant, right? That's just per catch. And his yards per attempt was 8.1. This year he's down to 7.4.
And still a little bit of time before the trade deadline. See if there could potentially be something they could do to bolster that. And as they go to Germany this coming weekend, going to go head-to-head with Tyreek Hill out there in Germany, see the weapon that they lost. How about in the NFC East, the Eagles with the league's best record right now, 7-1, a $2 favorite. But the Cowboys playing better as of late. Is the Eagles' house haunted? Could Dallas come up in the wings?
Well, I think this is the big week, right? I mean, it's a 3-point game. I think a lot of this hauntedness is going to have to come back. Where is Hurts, right? Mm-hmm. Where does he sit in this whole equation? I mean, the other issue is A.J. Brown's playing lights out. I mean, he's just playing. And who's guarding him? The one thing about Dallas is, when they play Philly, they can match up the Philly's offensive line. And their offensive line can match up the Philly's defensive line. So this game really comes down to this weekend. It's a 3-point game, but Philly, for Dallas to win, they got to run the ball. They can't. I said it last Sunday. When Dak throws it 35 times or less, they're a good team. Last week he threw it 31. They're a better team when he has balance in his run game. And it doesn't necessarily have to be 100 yards rushing. It has to be they have balance in their game. And I think ultimately Philly will win this thing, but Dallas will give them a good run.
Michael, we only have 30 seconds, but Seattle's actually the NFC West leader. San Francisco's still an odds-on favorite. Could Seattle make a push at this thing?
I think they could. I mean, look, they get Leonard Williams in there to help their defense. Geno Smith has to play to the level he played last year if they're going to do that. I think that's going to be critical. His accuracy.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.